I hope this is working. Wait. We're actually live. Holy hell. So for those who don't know, I'm going to apologize in advance because I was supposed to do this yesterday, and if you guys have like push notifications on for my Twitter, you guys have seen that I posted a tweet saying like, I'm live, talk about Smallville, like 7 times. I was trying to stream this thing, and my PlayStation was not working, and I looked up how to fix the problem, and they said, you gotta wait 24 hours. So I'm like, oh, shit. Well, now we're here. So, yes. Now let me actually tweet this out really quick because I didn't want to spam my, Twitter notification gang out there much more. So, thank you guys so much for joining. If you're watching this pre-recorded, you can just skip like probably a minute in advance just because I'm going to tweet this out. But there will be spoilers. We're talking about the full series of Smallville, and I do recommend you guys at least give it a shot. Specifically, at least try the first season. And if you like the show enough, try to dredge, push on. But I'll get into details in a minute. We are live talking Smallville. And tweet. I'm actually surprised this is working because I was waiting for the stream button to work for like 10 minutes. What's up, Hex? Okay, so let's get into it. If you guys have any questions or any topics or points to talk about in Smallville, go right ahead. I'm most likely going to forget some stuff, so it's going to be best if you guys help carry the conversation. But I want to talk about Season 1, even though I already reviewed it. There's just some things I wanted to talk about. So my first review, I was supposed to do a season-by-season basis for a review. And I ended up not doing that because I ended up watching this entire show, this 10-season show, in 4 weeks. And I didn't want to just, do a season-by-season review, especially because the view count would, probably drop drastically as the show went on. And so I just wanted to just do a whole series review, and I feel like that would be better for you guys. And I want to go over as much as possible because I gained a couple subs off my Smallville stuff, so I want to serve you guys as best as possible. That's why I decided to make this live. But Season 1 in that review was something small, pun intended, I guess, but charming and likable, and there was something unique about the show, and it's hard to say because after watching 10 seasons, I'm looking at that season with a more nostalgic piece of a new set of eyes, because of how everything was so simply solved. Because it would be easily solved as simple as, I don't know, Jonathan Kent simply saying some 2-minute lecture, but it was an actually deserved lecture. And as the show went along, those lectures became lesser and lesser. With, like I said, this is a very big spoiler. So after Jonathan dies, the lectures kind of slowly just stopped happening, and the show got a little bit more complicated in that right. We got a what's up, Will? But after Jonathan died, that was probably that is what triggered my Lana Lang rant. So that was probably 2 weeks ago, a week or 2 weeks ago. That's what set me off, that whole thing. But anyway, after finishing season 10, there was an episode in season 10 titled Homecoming. It was whatchamacallit? It was about Clark and Lois Lane going back to high school for their reunion, and it was a very memorable episode. It was probably my favorite episode out of the entire show because not often do I actually learn a life lesson from a TV show, because a lot of lessons that you see in movies or TV are so cliched and overused and overdone that we already know them. Do we take them into practice? No. And a lot of these lessons we learn, even if they aren't even cliche, they're not very practical. Well, at least for me, I don't see them being very practical. But this lesson that was taught to Clark, because it was Brainiac 5.0, the good Brainiac, for those who don't know. He's from the future. He goes back in time to teach Clark a lesson. And the lesson was, you got to stop punishing yourself for the past and stop worrying about the future. You're doing so much of both of these things. You're not worrying about what's most important, the present, what's in front of you. And that can come off cheesy if just explained flat out. But the entire episode was dedicated to that one lesson, and it was done with such care. And it was, let me see, is audio working? I never tested that. Yeah, okay, the audio is working. But anyways, the lessons was like, it felt important to me because that is something I do. I don't really punish myself for the past, but I do worry about the future so much to the point where like it affects my present, and that rarely happens where I can sit down and learn something, especially from a show like Smallville. So there was something special about that. I don't know. It was. I never thought I was going to learn something from Brainiac, because Brainiac as a character in this entire show wasn't a fan. You're going to hear me complain a lot about this show, but at the end of the day, I did like the show. But Brainiac and a lot of the villains majorly disappointment. They are major disappointments, I should say. They disappointed me severely. Brainiac is not the Brainiac that I know from like the cartoons or the comics. Brainiac's this giant green guy. I don't really know his origins, so I can't comment on his origins. But one thing that was a disappointment was his look. I understand that there's a budget to be had, but he wasn't green, and his origin was a little underwhelming. That he was a creation from Krypton, and yeah, he can morph into whatever he was this ultra powerful being. At least that's what they set up. And he didn't feel very powerful because he got beaten by a 15, 16, 17-year-old with ease. And I feel like that's a lot of the villains, though. A lot of the villains of this show, at least the big ones, get beaten with ease. Zod from Season 5, because there's two different Zods. Season 9, Zod was probably my favorite villain out of all of them. Okay, not probably, he is, because other than that, there's not really anything memorable. Lex is a good villain. The thing is, though, he didn't really have the conflict I was hoping for in the end. He just kind of goes away. He just kind of like dies. And like, I wish they did more with him when he was like pure evil. But I don't know. Like, he had 2 seasons of being the bad guy, but I feel like they were still like having him walk on the tightrope. Is he going to be flat out evil, or is he going to be good? So I wish they did more with that. But again, the one thing you're going to hear me constantly say about the show, the build-up was great, but the execution and the finale was trash. Trash. The biggest example of this is not Lex Luthor. It's Doomsday from Season 8. For those who don't know who Doomsday is, Doomsday is a creature of mass destruction. Every time you kill him, he comes back, and you can't kill him the same way again. So if you shoot him in the head, you can't shoot him anymore. He's bulletproof. You fucking throw a sun at him. Now guess what? You can't kill him by the sun. So he's basically immortal. You can't kill him. And Doomsday is one of the few creatures, well, the most iconic creature to kill Superman. And so you got this big villain. One of my favorites, in fact. Like, Doomsday is one of my favorite like comic book storylines ever. I saw both animated movies. I thought the second one, the reboot, was fantastic. I thought it was a brutal battle. It was like a 45-minute battle of just Superman getting his ass whooped. And they were building that up for Season 8. As the episodes go along, they're like, oh my god, how are we going to stop him? Like, he gets stabbed in the gut. This guy, Sam Witwer, I forget the character's name. But so he's like a Kryptonian, but he doesn't know he's Kryptonian, but he's not really birthed by, like, his father is Zod and some other broad. Like, they couldn't have a child, so they created him to be this unstoppable force. And what's also crazy, because this is how much build-up they were doing. So in the seasons prior, they were trying to say Lex Luthor and Superman, and like, the ultimate foes of like good and evil. Like they had this drawing, all this other shit. Season 8 comes around, they're like, what if it wasn't Lex Luthor? What if it was this Doomsday thing? The thing that's the ultimate good and evil. I'm like, wow, they're really setting this up. I can't wait. They're going to actually do the Doomsday where Clark dies. I can't wait. I was really excited. And to more of the setup, Chloe's having like nightmares because she's actually trying to help Sam Witwer out. Because he doesn't want to go evil. He wants to control this thing. He wants to stop it. So she's trying to save that part of him. She's having nightmares about Clark being ripped in half. You actually see Clark being dangled by chains, and his under half is gone. Not just like, poorly, just like one line cut. No, I'm talking about flesh dripping. Like, you just see his bottom half gone. And you know what the fight was? The fight was the final episode for the final 10 minutes. It wasn't even the full 10 minutes. The fight was 30 seconds long. And I wish I was kidding. This is one of the most agitating points of this entire show for me. It actually ruined one of the most major deaths of the show. So, this is how it goes. Let me explain this to you. So, Doomsday's wrecking havoc in Metropolis. At least that's what they're trying to say, because they do a skyline shot over Metropolis. You see like orange flares, like kind of showing that there's fire around the city. But there's like one city block we go to, and that's where the fight takes place. No cars are flipped. There's like no one on the streets. There's just like this one little girl and this mom or some shit like that. The little girl's gonna get killed. Clark goes over there and he drops the girl, grabs Clark, punches Clark like in the chest like 3 or 4 times. Not even, no, 3 times. Bam, bam, bam. Chucks him into a building. Clark gets up, grabs Doomsday, flies him into like an oil rig or some shit like that. Massive explosion. Cut. Now we fade into the funeral of Jimmy Olsen because Chloe had to be a dumb broad and save Sam Witwer instead of just throwing them into the Phantom Zone, because she's like, sending someone to prison, in space prison, is a worse fate than death. Even though Doomsday was officially starting to completely take over Sam. So she splits him. And then Sam Witwer, out of nowhere, just goes batshit crazy. He goes batshit crazy, then kills Chloe's husband, Jimmy Olsen. And for those who don't know who Jimmy Olsen is Superman's best friend. So it's a very iconic character. He's not just some buttfuck secondary character. And the thing is, I didn't feel anything. Because when it comes to Jimmy's character, he has a lot of ups and downs. Like, I feel bad for him because Chloe's always like dissing him and just like leaving him. But then there's times where like he's got this jealousy card for Clark, and it gets really annoying really fast, especially because he does it like 7-8 times. It gets really repetitive. But I didn't hate his character. I was actually rooting for him a lot of the time. I'm like, dude, you need to grow up, blah, 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 blah. But the reason why I didn't feel anything, because it is literally mere seconds after a battle that was supposed to be so grand and so big, only to cut to a death. So I'm sitting there trying to process: is Doomsday gone forever? Is he dead? What's going on? So I'm sitting there asking these questions while a major character's funeral is happening. And then after this, Clark goes gothic and wears a black trench coat and a Superman shirt, blah, 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 blah. This is the show's biggest problem. They do this a lot. They did it with season 5. They kind of set up Brainiac, but like these two, like this, the premieres and the finales are supposed to be these big things. It's funny because the premieres are always like the best episodes usually, because they're like, oh, this is this big threat that's gonna come. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm excited. Never delivers. I understand at the core of the show, it is a Clark Kent show. I do understand that, but there's got to have to be a time where you sit down and just think to yourself, okay, if we're going to be more of a Clark Kent show, should we introduce villains like Doomsday? Should we introduce villains like blah, 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 that require more physical battle to deal with? Or should we deal with characters like Lex Luthor battling more on an emotional level, more on a verbal level? Because that's what made Lex so fantastic, because it was him going from the light side to the dark side, but battling the entire way, making that conflict much more interesting. I feel like they missed out on Clark's conflict with him, because I feel like Lex wanted to be the good guy more than Clark wanted him to be the good guy. That's odd to say, because Clark really, he was ready to villainize him right away. I feel like Clark did that a lot in his youth, but he still did it in season 10 when he popped back up. He was ready to villainize him for anything. Sometimes he gave him benefit of the doubt, but there was one or two times where it looked like he did the wrong thing for the wrong reasons, but if he would just sit down and ask him, what was your intentions, Lex would have explained it to him. But no, he would rather be like, nah, you're a liar, get away from me. I'm like, okay, take it easy, Lana Lang, fucking bitch. So at the heart of the show, I feel bad for Lex the most, because he was trying to be the good guy. And then between everyone villainizing him, his father being a fucking dickhead, and now Clark kind of pushing him away, there's been, I think it was end of season 5, beginning of season 6 is when I understand why he started going bad. It's because Clark would not tell him about his superpowers. And that's when I started siding with Clark, because I'm like, I understand why you won't tell him, but you're bitching to him about, keeping secrets. Small ones, not these grand ones, but these small, inferior secrets. And Clark's like, how dare you lie, you fucking secretive little bitch. I'm like, Clark, you ain't exactly the most pretty picture to paint when it comes to secrets, and exactly when you're not doing a good job of covering your tracks, you know what I mean? Lex Luthor's a super genius, and you're kind of terrible. If I was your friend, I would have figured it out within a couple days. I'm like, he's always disappearing and then something magical happens. Processing. Oh, but he's just a simple farm boy. Who cares? Anyone can put on a facade like that. Anyway, but between Lex Luthor, my other favorite villain is Zod from season 9, because though there was a couple battles, even though they were the most epic battles they had, the most prolonged battles too, but I feel like a lot of their battles came from morals and who you're gonna side with. So I feel like that's where the conflict was the most interesting. And not only that, they weren't setting up Zod for 21 episodes just to have a fucking shitty fight to the death kind of thing going on. Zod was there from the beginning, right? But they were building up the apocalypse. Not apocalypse from Doomsday, not Doomsday, Darkseid. They were building up the apocalypse of the world, turning Earth into Krypton. That's what they were building up for, but not the villain. So there was always a main face of threat to see when it came to Clark, and he was always there, always parading around his friends, being manipulative. So I feel like there was a lot better conflict when it came to season 9. That's why season 9 is my favorite season outside of season 1, because I do prefer season 1 just because of the nostalgia. Even though this show I've only watched in 4 weeks, but there's a wholesome feeling to it. But that's why I prefer season 1. But season 9 is my next favorite, just because the threat was actually there. And Zod, the guy who plays Zod, is very, very interesting to say the least. If you guys have seen the show, you know what I'm talking about, because when he acts, he likes to be a mouth actor. When he talks, his mouth never really closes, and he always talks like this. His mouth's always open, his head's always tilting back. And after a while, I'm like, wow, man, interesting. But no, I'm making fun of the actor in a fun way, not saying the actor was terrible. He did a great job of being a cool, manipulative character. And speaking of season 9, because I forgot to bring this up in my pre-recorded video, there's a villain, a very iconic villain named Metallo. Again, underwhelming, because Metallo is a very iconic character. He's a man who gets experimented on, gets a kryptonite heart, and becomes one of Superman's greatest foes. It was cool to see Metallo fight Zod and Clark together, which was kind of cool, but again, short lived. So the show has a lot of cool moments, but very short lived. I feel like the show's strengths is in the small moments. And that's what makes the show very memorable, is when the characters get time to breathe and not worry about some impending doom that never really happens. They get to just sit down and talk and have fun. So I already told you one of my favorite episodes is like in season 10 where they go to Homecoming or the reunion. I don't know why the title is called Homecoming, not Reunion. But so the Homecoming episode in season 10. Another one is the JLA episode in season 6 when the entire Justice League, Impulse, Aquaman, Cyborg, Green Arrow, and Clark are together kicking ass. Fun fact, that's the only time we actually see them all on screen together. Very unfortunate, and I think that's like the last time we genuinely see Impulse. Like, genuinely. Because after that, he's never really in the show again. We see him at Hawkman's funeral in season 9, but... Or, like, no, my bad, season 10. In season 10, we see him at the funeral, but we don't see his face. We just see the back of his hood. I don't know what the deal with that was. And I'll get back into the whole JLA episode. Not the episode, but like the whole JLA in general. But the other most iconic episode was the Lex Luthor episode in season 3, episode 8. It's when... This is at the height of like Lex's mistrust and like... people just shitting on him. So he's nowhere near bad yet, but he's still fighting these inner demons, and people are treating him like an asshole. Clark at this point is still friends with him, like really good friends. He has a mental breakdown, and we start to see a lot of his past. Like we get to see that he had a brother named Julian, and they kind of tease the fact that he killed him. And then later in the show, we find out that it was actually not him that killed Julian, his baby brother, but it was actually his mother, and he took the blame, but his dad never really believed his son and all this other shit. So that episode was actually really sad because, again, it focused on the character and not some bullshit conflict that's coming down the line. If the show just focused on stuff like this and not big grand events, the show would have been a lot better for that. So I feel like the show just bit off a little bit more than they could chew. And another very iconic episode that I won't forget, but it's not like a great episode, but it's just a fun episode, is also in season 10. I don't know what the title is, or I don't remember where it is in the show, but one of the iconic episodes is when Clark has his bachelor party, and what makes this so much fun is because Zatanna, for those who don't know, is a magician, basically. She put a spell on the champagne and actually made Clark and the entire gang get drunk. So the gang would be a doctor, who I fucking love. I love the doctor. I don't know when he showed up. He just kind of showed up out of nowhere. He worked for Oliver Queen, and then just became the JLA's like doctor or assistant. I fucking love him. He's so cool. He's my favorite side character. Dope. But it's him. It's a doctor, this girl named Tess, who I wasn't exactly a fan of, to be honest. Not really. So there's the Doctor, Tess, Green Arrow, Chloe, Lois, and Clark. And I think that was it. And so they all get piss drunk. For those who don't know, Clark doesn't get drunk. So they end up stealing a massive truck filled with like millions of dollars. And they get this. It's like one giant episode based off the movie The Hangover. And it was a really fun episode, and seeing them watch what they did when they were drunk was really fun. You get to see the guys just, again, sit around and laugh and learn more about themselves when they're drunk. And it was a very fun moment, just seeing them having fun. And, again, the show's strength is the small moments. Just seeing that shot with them laughing was a very touching moment, because they're dealing with something that was supposed to be the end of all times, Darkseid. We'll get into that a lot later. But yeah, everything in between the drama and the bullshit, the truth, the lies, the love triangles, blah 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 blah. There's always these hidden gems inside. And that's what makes this show special at heart. And that's why I do love this show. I won't say love, but that's why I really like the show. That's why it would always stick with me. The small moments make the show great. Now, let's get to the finale before I wrap this up. Like I said, if I miss anything, guys, and you want to know my opinions on it, comment down below when the stream is finished and stuff like that. And then I'll make sure I get right back to you on it. If it's big enough, I'll make a solo video on it. And if not, I'll just comment down to you guys and let you guys know. But anyways, let's get into the finale. The last 5 minutes are fantastic because it's literally just the OG Superman theme blasting. And I love the 2013 Superman theme from Man of Steel. I actually kind of prefer it. It's complicated. I feel like it's a better orchestra, but it's not as memorable. It's hard to explain. But anyway, hearing the OG Superman theme with this Clark Kent, I feel like we finally got to see him how he became Superman. It's like just a very prolonged origin story. And I wish we got to see him actually in the suit, but we just see a couple very extreme close-ups and maybe some CGI shots. I wish we got to actually see him in the costume, but we didn't. That was the last 5 minutes, and it was very fucking cool. Because I'm like, wow, it felt earned. But the finale is, again, very underwhelming. So it's your series finale, right? And they continue to start the episode off with more drama, just excess drama, just like kind of cleaning the shavings off and stuff like that. They spent 5-10 minutes like on Tessa versus Lionel from like Earth 2 with Ultraman, like just battling out and shit like that, and then he gets shot, and then that reveals that Darkseid goes into him, possessing Lionel, reviving Lex Luthor because he blew up in, I think, season 8. Whatever. So that was like 5-10 minutes just wasted. Now your episode's only got 30 minutes left. And so Darkseid is the Justice League's biggest opponent. And I was hoping that we would get one giant shot with the entire JLA and some of the JSA members together to fight Darkseid. This one fight has one of the coolest moments in the show, and yet one of the most agitating moments in the show. So at this point, Clark doesn't fly, and he finds Lionel as Darkseid. I understand why you can't do Darkseid. I understand why you got to do a possession, because Darkseid's next to impossible to do practically in CGI. We've seen him what he looks like in CGI form with the dust cloud, whatever. Looks like shit, so I was okay with possession. But Lionel shows up into the barn. Literally just punches Clark once, right? Clark goes flying, and then he learns his final lesson from Jor-El. You are the hero that you are already the hero that you need to be. You're so worried of not living up to the expectations, but you're already him. And then he shows like a montage from all the show's major saves. Him stopping the bus, him like catching people pulling up Perry White from the bridge, all these saves. And then he embraces his Kryptonian side, but also embraces his human side, becoming the man, the myth, the legend, Superman. And he actually, for the first time ever, takes flight. Well, I won't say first time ever, but actually is conscious and flying. Cool moment, very empowering. Flies right into Lionel, and boom, end of the fight. And now we still got Apocalypse, the literal planet Apocalypse, getting ready to crash down into Earth, destroy Earth. What happens? He pushes it away. Yay! Yo, what's up, Fear? But long story short, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record. This show has spectacular moments. Like these hidden gems of just pure joy and just great characters. But the show focused on, like, so much like grand energy and like grand characters that were above their pay grade, above their like budget. So they had to solve it in like literally 15 seconds flat. But they didn't need Darkseid. They didn't need Doomsday. I mean, it's cool to see them on live action, but if you can't execute it, you got to find a workaround. Possession is fine. Again, I understand possession. But don't make it that easy, because the whole lesson, one of the major lessons for Clark was this. You can't do everything yourself. Fuck, he beat Darkseid by himself. And, I mean, Green Arrow is now officially one of the most badass characters. I love this Green Arrow. This is my favorite live-action Green Arrow. Sorry, Steven. This guy has the animated Green Arrow to the T. I love this guy. But he kills Granny Goodness and two other buttfuck Darkseid bronies with 3 arrows, one for each person. I get they were like special arrows, but still, again, easy. I just wish the JLA just came together as a team and was like, yeah, together we can stop darkness. Because another thing in the show, like specifically in season 9, on the JSA episode, Hawkman says, I underestimated your team. I underestimated you guys. I mean, they're not a team though. Aquaman showed up for his solo episode and maybe 2 more episodes after that. Impulse showed up for his 2 solo episodes. The JLA episode after that, he was just nothing but like behind the headshots. Cyborg got even less. He gets his 1 solo, the JLA, and then he gets to go on TV once, saying that, yeah, we're looking for Clark or whatever the fuck they were doing in that episode. They don't use these characters enough. And they're saying that they're such a great team, but they're not a team because it was really just Green Arrow. I'm fine. I'm just happy enough we got Green Arrow. Green Arrow, other than the Doctor, no, I love Green Arrow more, but he's still a major character. The Doctor, I love the Doctor so much, but Green Arrow, when he's like, Green Arrow is such a cool character for me. Like, he's sitting there getting his ass beat by one of these guys, like one of these people. I think it was one of the members of the Suicide Squad. He's getting his ass beat left and right, and then all he says when he's like dripping blood from the mouth, he's like, "What are you gonna do now? You gonna kiss me? Make up?" That's the Green Arrow that I know and love. The Stephen Amell one was more of like a Batman, darker Green Arrow, which was fine, but it's not my favorite version. The quirky, quippy Green Arrow, I love that. Fun fact about him, by the way, the actor who plays Green Arrow in Smallville, he actually played Aquaman from Smallville, but it was a spinoff. So he actually got his own show. There's an Aquaman season 1, episode 1, and that's it. They canceled it. I skimmed through it. It looked like shit. Wow. So I think they had a contract with him for like a couple seasons, and they're like, wow, we got this guy under contract. What are we going to do now? I think it was like season 4 of Smallville when that was that round. So they're like, fuck, okay, what do we do? Okay, we'll cast a different Aquaman and put him in Smallville. We'll get this guy as, I don't know, Green Arrow. Thank God, though, he was a great Green Arrow. But, long story short, guys. Final synopsis before I head off. The show. When it comes to the bigger stuff, it fails miserably. A lot of the episodes are built up for this grand event that never pleases, so there's a lot of the times where I'm just like rolling the eyes. A lot of the drama after season 1 tends to be a little dry, stale, and repetitive. And but when it comes to the small character moments when they're bonding, just having fun, I don't know, and they're like learning something about themselves, it's a really great show. Really great. And especially when they're learning life lessons. I feel like the lessons are earned, unlike the CW shows, because the CW shows, every episode, there's like this major life lesson. But this, each character gets their moment to learn a lesson. Lois learns that, hey, I gotta stop running away when things get a little serious. She does it all the time, and I was hoping she learned her lesson, but when it came to like her wedding, there was a whole thing where like, oh my god, I'm not ready. But the lessons are amazing. The show has its moments. But overall, I feel like I'm not going to remember the big major conflicts because they didn't really deliver. But what's going to stick with me is the character moments. Like, I don't know. The show was a lot of fun with those small moments. You got to kind of like rummage through the dirt to find it. But there is something special in Smallville, and that's why I do have a fond memory of it already. And it's sad it's over. Anyways, guys, if I missed something, or you showed up late to the stream, or you weren't even a part of the stream, you can comment down below. Let me know what you guys want to hear about Smallville next. I will do my best to go over it, if it be in a solo video or just be in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had an amazing ride watching Smallville. I'm glad I finally got to watch it and be a part of the DC fan base. Now, I'm going to be watching a lot of more DC stuff, mainly because I got DC streaming service, mainly because of Smallville. So Smallville did that. I barely watched any of the Batman animated series or any of the Superman animated series. I'm going to go watch all of those, and if you guys want, I'll review that too. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have a Twitter, Gumps_videos. Go find me there for the latest news updates on my channel, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, all that crap. Later, and goodbye. Peace.